I'm in Washington with Tom Farr, former director of the Office of Religious Freedom in the United States, author of a significant book in the field of international religious freedom. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. It's the issue of religious freedom presupposes a certain literacy in terms of knowledge of religion and understanding of a religious frame. You've dealt in the United States government as well as internationally in terms of some of these issues. Can you share with us a bit your perspective in terms of where we're at in the Western world today in terms of our literacy and understanding of religion?
Right. Well, I think our literacy may be reasonably high in the sense that a lot of people want to know about religion to understand the nature of the enemy. Our understanding of religion, for the same reason, I think, has diminished quite a bit. It may be one thing to say that terrorists who are motivated by religion are a threat. I certainly agree with that. But what we've lost is the anthropology, if you will, the notion that human beings are by their nature religious. This doesn't mean that everybody's a member of a church or a religious group, and it doesn't preclude the idea that people can abandon religion or reject it. They certainly can. That's what religious freedom means, in part. But it also means that if you are religious, you ought to have some part to play on the basis of your religion in the rules, the laws, the policies of your society. That's what we have lost, I believe, in the West, or in danger in the West in losing. And it's particularly ironic in my own country, the United States, where historically religious freedom has been thought to be the first freedom of the human soul, not just of the American Constitution, but that's precisely why it's part of our First Amendment. Our founders understood this as necessary for human flourishing and for the success of societies. We're losing that. And with that, we don't just lose a claim of privilege by religious people. We lose something fundamental about human nature and about the way societies work. So I think it's a critical issue, and we need to regain our understanding of why religious freedom is important, as well as what religion is.
Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor has just written a book in terms of talking about different forms of secularism and the changing of the frame and the loss of the transcendence. Is it, when a society is trying to build without any common sense of the transcendent, does that bring despair to you? Do you see hope in the midst of where we're at? Are there cracks in the secular?
Oh, if you believe in the transcendent, you can't despair, right? And of course, speaking as a Christian, despair is a mortal sin because it's a loss of the sense of transcendence. And in Christian terms, of course, that means a loss of the belief that the victory has already been won by Jesus Christ. But for those who don't believe this, I think Charles Taylor, who, by the way, has come to my program at Georgetown in the Berkley Center, he's a wonderful scholar, terrific scholar. I think he's absolutely right. And I would cite another scholar, Steve Smith, who's just written a great book about American religious freedom, the rise and decline of American religious freedom, where he says the same thing in a slightly different way. He says that historically, over a couple of hundred years in the United States, we've had two fundamental understandings of what religious freedom means. One is, he calls it the secularist understanding that it really doesn't have to be grounded in religion, but religion gets a place at the table. The other he calls the providentialist understanding. That is to say, this whole thing is grounded in a belief in God. And as late as the 1950s, we had a Supreme Court saying America presupposes a supreme being. Otherwise, America doesn't work. Now, what this book by Steve Smith says, and I think it's exactly right, is that the Supreme Court of the United States has thrown out the providentialist understanding and has left standing, which had been in tension all of these years, only the secularist understanding. This, if true, means a tremendous problem for our country. And so those of us who believe that transcendence is at the root of democracy, whether it's American democracy or anything else, because this is the root of what a human being is, we can't lose this. We have to stay in the game. We have to respect those who disagree with us, but to remain silent is a very serious mistake, even though the victory has been won.
Great. Tom Farr, thank you very much for your career of dedicated service and working in these areas, and now for writing and teaching about this. It's greatly appreciated from your fans in Canada.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.